Hey everyone, it's Alexa. I'm back with another update on how things have been going since I've been recovering from tearing my Achilles back in January. It's been about 2 months since I got my surgery, and I wanted to give just another update on how things have been going, especially as it relates to the last 2 weeks. If you watched my last update video, I shared that I was walking again, which is really exciting, and I was walking in my boot, and my doctor had me do that for about 3 weeks, and I think it went pretty well. I did end up traveling with my boot. I live in San Diego, and I flew to Scottsdale for one of my friend's bachelorette weekends, which was really fun. And I did have my boot on the entire time, so I wanted to share a little bit about how that all went. And then fast forward to today, I'm actually no longer in my boot. At my last doctor's appointment, which brought me to about 7 weeks post-op, he had me take off the boot and just start walking again. And so I want to talk a little bit more about how that's all been going as well. A lot of updates today, a lot of good stuff going on. I really do feel good, like I've gotten through some really good milestones with this recovery, but I know that there's still a lot of work ahead if I'm gonna get myself to be playing basketball again. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's start by going back to last weekend where I was traveling out of town with my friends. What's interesting about this trip is that when I initially got my injury, I really had no idea what sort of state of recovery I would be in. I thought that I was actually going to have to travel with my crutches and my knee scooter, and I wasn't sure if I'd be walking. But what ended up happening was by the time that I went on this trip, I'd actually already been walking with my boot for about 2 weeks. So that was really good. I felt like I had gotten used to it and I developed a lot of good strength in my leg. I was not nervous at all. And I was just excited to spend some time with my friends who I hadn't seen in a long time. Now, at the airport, I didn't really ask for any special assistance. I personally felt like I can do everything on my own now, and I just would prefer that. I think that if I had crutches or if I was on my knee scooter, I would maybe have alerted someone at the airport and talked about like getting a little bit of extra help, but I didn't feel like that was necessary with where I was at in the process. I think one thing that was interesting about being at the airport was that I did have a little bit of trouble going through security, if you even want to call it trouble. The boot that I was wearing had metal on it, basically. And so when I was going to Scottsdale, they weren't sure if it was gonna like turn on the security system. So they had me go through when everyone was going through, it beeped, I had to go back. And there was kind of like a commotion with security. I think they were training someone, and so it was like kind of just like awkwardly stood around for a little bit. And then they had me go through the machine where you like put your hands up on the sides and it like spins around you. And I got out and there was like a bunch of like yellow all around my boot. Like clearly it was my boot that was causing the alarm to go off. And then they had to like do the kind of have someone come over and test me kind of just like manually. And so it was like not that big of a deal, honestly. I just called out because it was interesting and I really wasn't sure what to expect. I have TSA pre-check, so if you're not familiar with that, it basically means you can go through security really fast and you don't have to take off any like shoes or take out your computer. You can pretty much usually just go through the line pretty quickly and get to your gate. And so this ended up taking a little bit more time than it normally would, but it was like not a big deal at all. Yeah, that was just kind of like the one thing that was interesting. I got to my gate, I had plenty of time before my flight was gonna take off. Usually when I fly, I like to bring food to the airport because airport food usually costs a lot of money for what you're getting, and it's usually like not the best food. So just like a tip for anyone who travels a lot or has never thought of this, like just grab yourself a salad or a sandwich or something from the grocery store on your way to the airport, and you'll thank me later. So yeah, and then I had a great trip with my friends. Like I said earlier in the video, I was wearing my boot pretty much the whole trip. There's only 2 times I wasn't wearing my boot. And the first was when I was showering, which is, I mean, that's been this whole process. But the second time that I was taking off my boot was actually for the first time I was able to submerge my foot in water, and the Airbnb that we were staying at in Scottsdale had a pool. And so I'll show some clips of this. It was really exciting to be able to finally like dip my feet in the water, and it just felt so cool and refreshing, and it was super, super nice. And I wasn't like swimming or even walking around the pool without my boot. All I did was sit down, take my boot off, and dip my legs in the water, and it felt so great. One thing though that I was thinking about and was trying to be very careful was I didn't want to let my scar be out in the sun for too long without protection. So after I had my feet in the water for a little bit, I took them out and then I put my sock back on, and so it could cover the scar. To be really careful, I mean, I'm not like an expert in this, but I think if your scar gets sunburned or is exposed to the sun too much, it can cause like sun damage, and that area can be permanently dark or red or something. And anyway, just it's important to be very careful, especially when you're like, my scar is still healing, to protect it. And so that's what I did, put the sock back on. And yeah, it was a really great trip. I felt like for the most part, I was able to keep up with my friends when we were walking around, and the boot I felt very safe in because it's really sturdy and it really ensures that your foot is staying in the same position. And yeah, one thing I wasn't able to participate in, which is totally understandable, is that there was a workout class that the instructor came to the Airbnb, and for about like an hour and a half, the group was doing like a workout class together, and I couldn't participate, and it's okay. Like, I understand. It was kind of whatever. Fast forward to the very, very beginning now of 7 weeks post-op. I had my follow-up doctor's appointment. This was actually the Monday after that weekend that I was in Scottsdale, and I had a really great appointment. I went in and talked to my doctor like I always do, and he checked my leg, said everything looked really great. I was asking questions, how have things been going, and he had also previously told me to bring my right shoe, so I brought that to the appointment. And so he had me practice and start walking, and he said, you can just start walking now on your own. And it's just like, I can't believe that. 7 weeks post-op, I'm walking? What? Couple things though. One is that he told me to be very, very careful. It's especially important to be careful to not fall or to slip, because that could cause a rupture, and then I'd have to start completely all over, which sounds horrible and honestly kind of terrifying. So I'm being very, very careful when I'm walking, and I'll show you some clips too of myself walking right after my appointment. It felt really strange to get back into walking, and I definitely can sense a lot of tension or stiffness in that Achilles area, but I'm happy with it. Like, I'm happy with just being able to get started with it now. He said that I can start using a standstill bike to do some exercises, but I asked him if I was allowed to do swimming exercises too, and I think technically I could, but he said I should probably just avoid the pool altogether because it's usually such a slippery area that he would be worried that I could potentially fall. So I'm probably gonna start to get into biking soon. And then the big thing was that he told me to start doing PT. Up until this point, I haven't really done any PT. I've just been doing the range of motion exercises by moving my foot up and down and side to side just at home. And that's what's helped get my foot to where it's at now. He said I have really great range of motion, and I have been walking on it for the last 3 weeks up to that point. So I'm excited to like start working with a professional now and get really into more of the harder or like more, I don't know, more specific workouts that can help me create some strength in my leg. Right after the appointment, I tried contacting the PT they had referred me to. They weren't open, so I called first thing in the morning, and the earliest appointment I could get in was for the following week. And this was just because it's my first time working with them. The lady on the phone said it'd be really easy to schedule like my actual appointments once I've done the initial like, I don't know, onboarding. I was kind of like bummed about that because I don't, it's just my personality too, but I was just like, I'm ready. Doctor said start PT, start as soon as possible, like I'm ready. And I had to wait another week. I'll do another video more specifically checking in about how things have been going with PT once I get that all going. And then the other thing is that my doctor said to keep my boot still. Like, there are times where I might want to be using it, and I have used it already twice in the last week. One was when we went to a farmer's market. There's a lot of people. It's also a little bit more walking than like I'd normally be doing. So I wanted to make sure that I had that just to be super, super safe. And then the second time was last night. I went out with a friend and my fiance Mike to dinner, and we got some drinks. And again, it was just like a lot of walking, a lot of people. And I just preferred to have that extra protection and just felt safer. The other thing that I'm so excited about is that I'm driving again. So after that appointment, my doctor said, since I'm walking, I'm also cleared to drive, and that has been so great to be able to do that again. Yeah, that's mostly it. I think that's think that's all the updates I wanted to share. If this is the very first video you're finding of mine that relates to me tearing my Achilles, I've made actually like a bunch of videos and I'll be making even more. I'd love for you to check those out if you think they'll be helpful for you. And then also subscribe to the channel if you're interested in making sure to stay up to date when I post the new videos. I ruptured my Achilles playing basketball back in January. Basketball is a huge part of my life. I've been playing it my whole life and it was devastating. Like, it was really upsetting when this happened. It felt really random. I was really sad, frustrated, like all the things. And I still am, like, kind of feeling all of those things, but I'm in a much better spot with it all. When this happened to me, I also went to YouTube and it was really comforting to listen to other people's stories. And I totally binge watched a couple people who shared the whole process from beginning to end for their recovery journey. And it helped me a lot, both understand and set expectations for mine. It felt like it helped me ask better questions to my doctor and feel a little bit more prepared just going into everything. So that all to say, if you have any questions or thoughts or want to just talk about any of this, feel free to leave me a comment below and I'd love to connect. And you know, hopefully if I can do anything to make this an easier process for you, I'd love to be that person for you. That's gonna be all for now though. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to give it a like, subscribe. I will say I normally make videos on this channel about design, careers in tech, working remotely, living in San Diego where I live with my family. So if you're also into any of those things, I would love for you to be a subscriber. But that's gonna be all for now. Hope to see you next time. Bye.